It has been a rocky road, to say the least, for the Redlegs over the past week, but can they recover in time for the playoffs? And some new faces have made immediate impacts, as well as will we see Rhett Lauder in 2024?
We answer all this and more on today's episode of Reds Relay.
Welcome back. It's good to be back. It's been a kind of a rough week. I am Brendan Hosser. This is Matt Fry, as always, back on the Reds Relay podcast. We're here to talk a little Reds baseball that's been a little bit unkind in the last couple of days. So we're going to kind of get into a recap of the last week that has been quite the roller coaster. Talking about a couple series where, very up and down. So we got a lot to talk about in this episode. Hunter Green, not only has he been pitching well, but now an injury bug with him. We're going to talk some of the new faces that we've seen over the past couple of weeks. So we've got a lot to get into, and I think I'm ready to just dive right in. So the first thing we want to kind of do is, kind of recap the last week. If you haven't been watching the games, probably a good thing. As of right now, they're 11.5 out of first, 5.5 out of the wild card.
Yeah, had the highest of highs and the lowest of lows this week.
And that's kind of been the name of the game, really, for them all year. It's just they have a series, where they play St. Louis. So at the time, St. Louis was sitting in second place, and they were in last, I believe, before the series. And then the NL Central kind of took a tank. Everybody, I think they all lost a couple in a row at least.
Couple losing Pirates lost a lot in a row.
Yeah, they had a 10-game skid.
Everything went the Reds' way, and the past week with the NL Central standings.
Yeah, so they obviously swept the Cardinals, and it was an awesome series, fun series. I went to a couple of games. Hunter Green really pitched well. They hit the cover off the ball, so many home runs. Friedel and India both had the first. Let me see if I can get this right. They're the first pair of teammates to both hit 2 home runs in a game since Adam Duvall and Patrick Kivlahan in 2017. Most Reds fans probably don't even know. I mean, you probably know Adam Duvall, but I don't know if you're going to know Patrick Kivlahan. But that's pretty cool feat for them. It was a fun series. Tommy Pham came back to Cincinnati. That was kind of fun to see, and kind of there was a lot of heckling going on in the crowd, and it was just overall like a really fun series. They just really took it to the Cardinals, took it to Sonny Gray.
Beat down on Sonny Gray, and just really anybody. They were hitting like crazy that series.
It didn't matter who came out of the bullpen, who was on the mound. Like they just kind of took it to him. The pitching was outstanding. Really an overall great series. Then you go from that, Matt Fry, you go from the Cardinal series to the Royal series. And, you take 3 steps forward and then you take 5 steps back. It just seems like every time this team starts to get some momentum, they just hit a roadblock and they forget how to play baseball.
Yeah, what's that stat? I think they've been between 1 and 4 games under 500 for the past 2 months.
Yeah.
So it seems like anytime we creep up, approaching 500, we just end up getting swept to just go right back down in that hole and just can't find our way.
And I've been saying too, I feel like this team is probably the worst team in baseball when they're 3 games under 500. It seems like every time they get to that 3-game threshold, they lose 2 in a row, or they lose a game, lose a series. Obviously the division is out of reach. They're not going to win the division. Milwaukee's just a better team. I didn't think that going into the year. If you look back at our predictions, I told everybody I wasn't scared of Milwaukee, even though they kind of took it to us the previous year. I wasn't intimidated by them. Pittsburgh was kind of, their pitching staff could be really good, and it has been really good. But the Brewers were not a team that I really thought was going to continue to be good after losing Craig Counsell, losing Corbin Burns. But they just continue to prove that they are a better team than the Reds.
Yeah, it's kind of a mystery. They just always seem to win games, not only against the Reds, but literally anybody that they play against.
Yeah, so, they've been winning, and you have to just tip your cap. You can't, say, well, they're not a good team. Well, they are a good team, and they kick the crap out of the Reds every single time they come into Great American Ballpark, or we go into Miller Park. So, well, actually, I don't think it's Miller Park anymore, but so kind of getting off on a tangent there. They play the Royals, and they have probably the worst series that I have probably ever watched as a baseball fan. I mean, that was a beatdown. I mean, to put it lightly, I mean, 28-3, Kansas City scoring 28 runs, and the Reds only scoring 3. I think that's easily the worst series of the year. It's probably one of the worst series of the last 5 years.
Yeah, especially in a must win. You have to at least win that series to stay afloat where you're at, and just getting swept just puts you in so much more of a
I would
hole.
agree. And really, the only bright spot of that series was probably Tyler Stevenson. He's just continued to hit all season long. Every time he's not in the lineup, I almost don't even want to watch the game.
He's almost solidified himself as
One of the best catchers in baseball.
Everyday player for the Reds at catcher. I mean, you got to take some breaks here and now, but it's kind of hard to give him a break when he's playing so good and we need him.
Yeah, I think he's solidified himself as one of the best catchers in baseball. I really do. I think that he has been. You know, he had a couple weeks there where he kind of went back to the old Tyler Stevenson of not hitting the ball in the air, but the power's been there. He's going to hit 20 home runs. You know, and that's no slouch for a guy that plays a position that he doesn't play every day. So 20 home runs is going to be, and he was hurt earlier in the year. He got hit in the hand and missed about a week. So he's been spectacular. And he was pretty much the only bright spot. The pitching was bad. Lodolo was bad. Fernando Cruz has been horrible. I don't even think we saw Diaz in the series. It was just bad all around. And I want to put it behind him, but at this point, it's kind of like, it's hard to not look back and say, wow, you know, even if you win one game in that series, you know, you're in a lot different position.
Yeah, Royals are really impressive teams, probably the most improved team from
and they don't have the
year.
names.
They got,
I mean, you have Bobby Witt clearly,
and the MVP
Salvi.
conversation, but yeah, you're right. It's like
some guys I've never heard of.
Solid pitchers. But
well, and that's the thing too, is looking into the series, I kind of thought, okay, you know, they're going to have an opportunity to win the series. You're not seeing Seth Lugo, who's been one of the best pitchers in baseball this year. You didn't see Cole Reagans, their star lefty that has
Michael
been good.
Lorenzen they face.
Yeah, you saw Lorenzen, who has had a good year, but I kind of thought they would hit him around in that ballpark. And they don't play well on the road historically this season. So really tough series. Kind of want to move on from that. We got some bright spots to talk about in this podcast, but that's kind of been the last week. They started a new series last night with the Toronto Blue Jays, who they played a very complete baseball game last night. It was kind of refreshing to see them get back to the field and just kind of, you know, get back to their way of playing ball, stealing some bases, you know, putting the ball in the gap, good pitching. We'll talk about a guy, you know, that threw the other night that threw really well. You know, so I don't know what you saw in this series, but I look at a guy like Kevin Gausman, who they kind of took it to. They got him out by the fifth or sixth inning. He only went, I think, 5 1/3. And you know, they played good baseball.
Yeah, everybody just got hot there later in the game. Someone hit a double or they just kept getting hits and piling on hits and hits and hits. Friedel.
Ty France, yeah.
Everybody's just stepping up in that game and just blew it open like they should.
Yeah, and Ellie and India,
the young guy on the mound.
Ellie and India didn't really do anything last night. And they've kind of been the catalyst for the offense most of the year. You know, they didn't really have great games yesterday. And you know, they were really led by Steer, Ty France, Santiago Espinal had a great night. He just continues to. He's becoming. I need to write an apology letter to that guy because it's like he's been one of the more consistent players in the second half, and he's been great. You know, and then Julian Aguilar, I think I'm saying that right, came in yesterday, made his first big league start and threw well. I liked what I saw.
Yeah, strike thrower, doesn't throw very hard off the mound. So he still runs up there 94 with a nice little sinker, but he threw well. Hanging sliders to Vladimir Guerrero, like welcome to the league. That's gonna happen.
Yeah, that was his moment
from that. But after that, he just went right back at it. Got out of that inning and only gave up 2 runs in 4 innings. Pulled him a little early, but
and that's what's so frustrating about this team. And I don't want to get kind of on like another rant, but it's, you know, this team, like they have it. They have the players. I think they need to do more in the offseason. I'm not saying they're complete by any means, but you see the sparks of like, okay, they know what they're doing. And I know that's baseball. Like you have your ups and downs, but it just seems like last year for 2 months out of the season, 2.5 months, we got a lot of consistency from this team. they were just. I mean, you win 12 in a row, like that's a freak thing. They're not going to do that again. But they had a lot more consistency last year. It started to show at the end of the year last year. But that's what's so frustrating is just, you see like India and Ellie and Steer and Stevenson. That core can be so electric and just so dynamite sometimes. And then you have days where they don't. They play teams that are good, but I think that that's the teams that they should be competing with right now, and they're just not. Yeah. And so that's what's so frustrating about this team, and has been all year. And Reds fans know this. But yeah, Aguilar pitched really well last night. Like what I saw, I think he should stay in the big leagues for the time being. And I don't know how tonight's gonna go. Hopefully they can win the series. The wild card's the only thing in reach. So maybe they make a move down the stretch, to kind of get going here, but we shall see.
Yeah. And the Julian Aguilar, however you pronounce it, calling him up is big because of our
the injury.
IL calling.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it. Yeah.
That could possibly be another reason why they pulled him so early, because they don't really know what's going on with him. Maybe. Yeah. Like if he's okay, they'll just send him back down to AAA. But if not, he's gonna have to finish the rest of the year in Hunter Green's spot in the rotation.
Yeah. So like most baseball fans and Reds fans have found out, Hunter Green went on the IL, 15-day IL, retro from August 14th. And with elbow soreness. So that's obviously like a big red flag.
Had Tommy John before.
Yeah, and we know like Hunter Green's prowess. Like he throws very hard. He's very high effort. And he's been a top 3 pitcher in the National League all season.
Top 3 in Cy Young voting probably.
I think he could have made a case to win it. Obviously Paul Skeens has been great. Chris Sale's been great, but Hunter Green has been so good for them, and he's really. That's why this injury is so much more frustrating now, because he's really blossomed into the ace that we all thought.
Imagine where we would be without Hunter Green right now, saving the back half of our season, basically.
Being that stopper, and like that's huge for this team, and he's been so good, and it's great to see. Everybody knows he works hard, and sometimes you don't see it, but he comes across as a guy that really works hard, and he wants to be, he's already locked up. He's got a contract for a few years. He could be a guy that says, well, I'm good enough now, whatever. But, he's been very good for them, and it's been great to see. He's developed a third pitch now. But
yeah, that's huge right there. When we talked about a couple times earlier in some previous episodes about he was a 2-pitch pitcher, and he was getting away with it, but he wasn't going very long, and now he's getting that splitter down, and
it's huge. It's huge for him.
He's going into the 7th inning, 8th inning sometimes.
Extending his outings. I think the third pitch, like a lot of guys can pitch 5 innings with 2 pitches. Hunter Green has done that his whole career so far. But that third pitch, that's what gets you through the third time through the order. And that's how you become an elite starting pitcher, is having a third, fourth pitch to go to and mix in. So obviously that's a huge blow for the Reds. And his first opinion was that he was okay, I believe, but
he's went and gotten a second opinion.
Okay. Yeah. He's getting a second opinion. Don't know what that entails. Haven't really heard a lot. They've kind of kept it under the radar, which kind of makes it more nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Every time any of our guys have gotten a second opinion, like Strand, it's not been good.
Yeah.
I think a couple other guys I can't really think right now, but Hunter Green getting a second opinion, waiting to see. I think he's getting an MRI maybe, but
that's
we should find out soon.
That's not only a blow for this year.
Yeah.
You look into next year. If it's a UCL, if it's Tommy John,
his second one,
he's done for next year. He's not coming back. So, and the Reds being a small market team, they have a small window. So it's
depending on what the next series or 2 goes, he's on 15-day IL, so that's another 3-4 series maybe. Depending on how that goes, I'd say they probably will shut him down for the year.
Do you think they should shut him down?
Like I said, depending on the series, how the series goes, they're so far down the wild card. Without Hunter Green, it's going to be kind of hard to climb back up, I think. So
without the arms.
Yeah, I wouldn't risk it. I would shut him down for the rest of the year.
I think I would have to agree with you. I also think that, considering how this team has been, even if they are, I'm contemplating with just saying, hey, look, like, unless you come back perfectly clean, and there's like no doubt, which I know they look for that anyway. They're not going to bring him back if they think something's wrong. But if there's any doubt, he needs to be done, because even if they win the Blue Jays series and they win whoever they're playing next, it's kind of like, okay, well, you won 2 series, but are you going to do the same thing you did last week when you lost? You got beat up by Kansas City after getting back in it, per se. Yeah. So I don't. It's a tough situation. They have people that make those kinds of calls. So
I think he's gonna. I think he obviously wants to come back and play, but I just don't know if that's the right call for him to make right there.
Yeah, because he's having such a good year. Yeah. So that's kind of and I actually kind of want to dig a little bit into his numbers before we move on. He, before the injury, he was getting to his most career innings. I think he's already surpassed it, I believe. 185 batting average against, which is really, really low. Third in baseball. It was at the time. Second in hits per 9. Lowest amount of hits per 9, and second in WAR too. And that's in a ballpark that obviously is known for the home run ball. He's actually, I have it on here, 5th lowest in baseball in home run percentage, 1.9% at GABP, which is really, really impressive. And for their park factor, I think they're second in runs, and 4th in home runs. I have it on here. I have my stats. But yeah, so he's been so good, and I just think that he's continued to improve every single year. He gets a lot of hate, just because he was a 2nd overall pick. He's kind of been I know Ellie's he's our guy, but Hunter Green has kind of been the poster child for this rebuild.
He was one of our only names for a
couple of years. Right. He was our first big name. He was the first piece. Him, and then Lodolo came shortly after, back in 2022 when they were not very good. So, maybe the innings, is kind of, he's starting to fatigue, and he has thrown a lot of high effort and high stress innings. So, we'll kind of see where that goes. But he, was a guy I wanted to highlight just because he's pitched unbelievable. So, we lose Hunter Green. And we obviously have other injuries going on. We do have some new faces to talk about, some new guys that we really haven't mentioned on the podcast. We mentioned one earlier, being Ty France, newer face. Yeah, he's been around about since the All-Star break, but we want to talk about a couple guys that have made some impacts, and some guys that could make impacts later in the year. So the guy I want to talk about is Ty France. He came over from the Mariners during the All-Star break. It was kind of a weird situation. I don't know, did they traded for him, but they also were going to claim him off waivers.
Yeah, I think the Mariners previously DFA'd him.
Yeah, and then we ended up trading for him, which was kind of a weird move. I don't know. I think it was cash considerations, our favorite prospect.
Yeah, I don't think they gave up anybody for him.
Yeah. But he's been good. I think he's kind of flown under the radar so far because it has been so shaky and he's not playing every day. But, since he's been here, he's hit 3 home runs, and he's last night, I think he had a 2 RBI double, and he just seems to kind of just get base hits. I don't know.
I like a good little mix up in the lineup, giving Candelario an off day. Of course, now he's on the IL for 10 days, but having him come in, DH in against lefties or playing first and make.
And he's played a good first base too. Made a couple diving plays.
Just gives you a couple more options there.
Yeah. So he's been good. I've liked Ty France a lot. Now we actually were talking about this before the show. We didn't really mention it. But what's his contract situation?
Oh, the arbitration level. Yeah, there's. If you follow a couple of Reds Twitter accounts, they talk about all kinds of stuff, and they're saying, what would you do next year at the first base position, given you gave Candelario 3 year?
Yeah,
whatever.
$15 million. Yeah.
Or are you gonna try to keep France on the major league roster, and then arbitration level comes in, and you're gonna be paying $9 million?
What is his arbitration?
I think it said $9 million a year.
See, I feel like that's just really high. I mean, I know I'm sitting here saying he's been good, but I feel like that's kind of high for somebody like him when you have Christian Encarnacion Strand who's coming back next year.
Yeah.
But you don't know what you're going to get from him. So it's kind of that give and take. But for me, I think that it's not smart to give a guy that kind of money when you don't know what to expect than rather give somebody money that, okay, we know this is our guy. We're going to ride or die with him. So I don't see that happening. It'd be if they had the extra money, which when do the Reds spend their extra money? Never. So we'll kind of see where that goes. Santiago Espinal is another guy that maybe do we bring him back? He was on a minor league contract, so he'll be a free agent. So what are we going to do with him? Couple other faces that we will see in the near future. Ahmed Rosario. Yeah. I like the pickup of him. He's actually been pretty good for the Dodgers, batting
over 300 this year. Just no room on that stacked Dodgers team with Mookie Betts coming in. They had to get rid of someone.
Yeah,
and
he's gonna
a lot of controversy dropping that guy. I mean, you don't see a lot of 300 batting average players getting
no
dropped
power,
by teams,
but yeah. He'll help this team. He's versatile. He can kind of play everywhere. And obviously, like Matt Fry said, Candelario going to the IL. He'll get some time at third base. He may get some time at short. I don't know if I think he still plays some short. He's kind of in the later stages of his career. I don't know how old he is, but I know he's been around for a while with Tampa and with he had a stint with Cleveland. And then the Dodgers, obviously. So he's been around for a few years now. But
he's 28. Just looked it up.
Okay, so he's actually in the prime of his career.
305 this year. So
he could make. I think he's going to make an impact for this team. I think they need righty bats. I think they need guys that put the ball in play, create contact. Maybe he hits in the top of the order at some point. I don't know. Probably not. I think it's going to be India and Ellie. But an interesting move. I like that they're not doing nothing. Like, I like new faces, fresh faces, especially at this point in the season when it's kind of been mediocre.
And no trade deadline, no big trades that Nick Krall has made. Kind of like last year, how they made a couple of trades, but they brought up Bader and Renfroe.
And we got Sam Moll from Oakland, but that was about it.
But I'm saying the DFA. Renfroe
the waiver
Bader.
wire. Yeah.
How we picked up a couple guys from the waiver wire, and now we got Ahmed Rosario.
Yeah, so they're making some moves, and then. Julian Aguilar, who we kind of talked about earlier, threw really well last night. I think he's going to stick around. He's got good stuff. I listened to him in the post-game press conference, and he sounded like he had a good head on his shoulders, and I think he's going to be pretty good for them. He's going to go through his rookie kind of slap in the face, if you will. But I think he's kind of been an underrated arm in their system for a while now. He's been a top 10 prospect for about a year now, and he just kind of has been overlooked because they have a lot of arms in AAA and in AA that have, one guy we're about to talk about, that have kind of, taken the spotlight, I guess, away from him. So, some of these new guys, I think it's good for them to kind of come up here and get some experience, and one guy I think that they might see this year is Rhett Lauder, who today just moved up to AAA Louisville after really pitching well over the last month and a half in Chattanooga. Obviously the first round pick, 7 overall by the Reds in 2020. No,
he was just
last year, right? Yeah. Okay, 2023.
Yeah, he was our 2023 first round pick.
Yeah. And he's pitched well. The numbers, the baseline numbers, don't look crazy. I think he still has over a 4 ERA.
Yeah, no, they're not that good because if you remember when he first got called up to Chattanooga, he got blew up a little bit. He was getting hit around and giving up runs. I think he was getting shelled, giving up high numbers, and everybody's like, oh. But then he settled it down, and over his last 10 games or so, he's got a 1 ERA or somewhere close to that. He's been shutting it down.
But yeah, he's kind of made that leap to where he's been dominating. I mean, flat out dominating in AA. And so they move him up to AAA. We'll see how that goes. I think he'll have some rocky starts to kind of start the year, or to start his stint in AAA. But do you I want to get your thoughts. Do you think we'll see him this year? Do you think it's worth it?
I don't think so. I don't know. Just because it's so late in the season, he's pitched a lot. It's his first. Did he pitch in the last year? I don't know if we gave him any innings at all.
I actually don't know. I'd have to look at that. But
yeah, you got Aguiar coming back. We also possibly could get Graham Ashcraft back. Like we got some guys that fill that role, and I don't think rushing him up now is the right move. Get him maybe finish the year out in AAA and could possibly make the team out of spring training last.
Yeah, I think he makes the opening day roster next year. Like I think he would have to. Well, I don't want to say that because they are going to have a lot of arms coming back next year. You're going to have Williamson back next year is another one. So that rotation is going to be pretty full next year. Let's hope that Hunter Green's healthy, and everything else will matter. But if he's not healthy, they're going to be needing to go get an arm. But I think that for me, I think the only reason they would bring him up is if you had a situation where they get so far out of it. To where it's kind of a promotion for next year.
Yeah, no, I could see that.
And they say, hey, come up, make 3 starts, 2 starts, and just kind of put some butts in the seats because people will come watch him.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it'll be, it's not an Ellie debut, but it's, he's right now he is our number 2? No, he might be number 1. I think
he's our 2.
Is he 2? Is Chase is 1? Okay. 1. So yeah, he's our number 2 overall prospect, and he's kind of the closest to being ready.
Yeah.
So I think, they could use that as kind of a promotion for next year, and they just bring him up, let him start a couple games, despite how AAA goes. I don't know. I think it's unlikely, but it wouldn't shock me, I guess is the best way to put it. But he's been great, so I wouldn't mind seeing him. I think it'd be something to kind of look forward to. And, the rotation next year could be very interesting.
It also depends on what control they have. I don't know if calling him up will affect how...
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I don't...
It's kind of what delayed the Ellie calling up a little bit,
Yeah.
I think, just based off of
it's
control.
Always, the control, the minor league contracts, how all that works. I'm not really, super... Well, I don't know how all that works, but that's probably a factor, I would assume. But you don't want to bring a guy up when he's not ready, and I just we'll see what they do with him. But so that's kind of the rundown right now for the Redlegs. It's kind of been that rocky road, as we said. Hopefully they find some consistency. I don't think they're going to make as we sit. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to come up short. But who knows? They could make a run. McLean, if he comes back.
Could see McLean as early as, I think, next week, maybe? Next couple weeks?
Maybe for a rehab.
Yeah, he's due to make a rehab start soon. I know that. He had a setback, but I think he just got cleared for... I think he got cleared for rehab activity.
Yeah, so we'll kind of see what happens. I'd like to see them make a push, but, not the best opportunity to get our hopes up right now because every time that happens, they fall in the toilet. So we're going to talk a little bit before we end our show, a little bit of around the league news, some things that have been going on as we kind of shift gears here. I'm just going to kind of rattle off a few things. The Pirates are planning to not shut down Paul Skeens after some speculation around the league, whether or not they were going to do that. I don't know if I don't. What are your thoughts on that? If you're in the Pirates situation, do you send him down? Do you shut him down? He's been pitching great.
Yeah,
he doesn't need to be.
It's a tough decision because he is a legit Cy Young candidate and somehow is the number 1 Cy Young candidate. And he got caught up not very late. He got caught up pretty early.
Yeah.
And as a rookie, he's thrown a lot of innings. I don't know how much, but if they're so far out of the picture,
the hunt, yeah,
they might shut him down. I mean, I don't really follow that
too
much.
They were talking about it because I saw a stat about his average velo, which I kind of thought was kind of dumb because it's just like, I think part of it's he's just learning how to pitch. Like they're basically saying his average velo is going down. He was averaging around 100 miles an hour. Now he's averaging around like 98 or like 97.7 or something weird like that.
Which that happened to Hunter Green a couple of weeks ago. And I thought he was hurt and he ended up being fine.
Well, I think part of that too is just they learn how to pitch and they realize they don't have to throw every ball 102 miles an hour. I mean, Hunter Green can throw 102, 103 if he wants to. Like he can. But he's learning how to pitch. He can sit 96, 97 and
he can get it to move either way. He can get it to sink. He can get it to run. I mean, just a bunch of factors to it.
I don't see it happening. And obviously they have kind of said that they're not going to. So that, we'll see what happens with that. Players Weekend was last weekend. Oh, it was when they played the Royals.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously saw all of the really cool bats. It was kind of a weekend I didn't really want to remember, so not going to talk a lot about it.
The customized hats, I don't know if you saw that. Every player got
I did not see that.
Their number was on there. It was all custom, so it's cool. Like get like an Ellie hat from like a store or something. Okay. I like his thing on there.
I'd like to see them do something with the uniforms.
I wish they went back to the nickname jerseys.
Yeah, the nickname jerseys. That's what it was they had a while ago. I'd like to see them do something like that. Aaron Judge becomes the fastest player. This was a few weeks ago. Aaron Judge becomes the fastest player to 300 career home runs, 955 games. The new MLB Pipeline Top 100 prospects list has dropped, and it has Jackson Holliday at number 1, which that will change. Obviously, he's in the big leagues now. Rays Junior Caminero at number 2. Travis Bazzana, the recent number 1 overall pick, lands at number 13. The Reds overall have 4 in the top 100. They have Chase Burns at number 24, the number 2 overall pick in this past year's draft. Rhett Lauder, who we just talked about, at number 35. Edwin Arroyo still cracks the top 100, even though he is on the IL out for the season with a torn ACL.
I thought he got a labrum.
Okay, well,
I don't know, but
you guys can find that out for yourself. I thought it was a knee, but you might be right. I think you're right. I think it was labrum. I don't know why I thought it was an ACL.
Yeah, he tore his labrum. It was his left shoulder, though.
Okay.
Which is the same thing Matt McLean did, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. And then one of the most intriguing prospects, I think, Sal Stewart, lands at number 85. The only thing I have wrong with this list is that Cam Collier's not on it. I thought that was really weird. I'm really high on Cam Collier, and he's been mashing at Dayton. So I would have liked to see him on this list.
He can crack his in there maybe next couple of years. What is he, like 19?
Yeah, I think he's actually 19. He should be 20 here soon. We drafted him. We drafted him right out of high school when he was 18. So that's kind of been, what's been going on with the Reds. We have a little bit of news. I think, to kind of end this episode, I think the biggest thing for this team is they have to obviously look to next year, but they need to look to their holes in the lineup. And they have to go make a move. I really think, truthfully, they need to make a big move. Whether that'll be a guy like Brent Rooker in the outfield, whether that'll be, a big time arm if Hunter Green is hurt, so we'll just have to wait and see. But I really truthfully think that they need to make a big move, and so we'll kind of just go with the flow right now and just kind of see how things go. So I think that is all we have for you today. So if you are watching for the first time, you can check us out on Twitter and TikTok and YouTube, where you can find the podcast, as well as Spotify. Make sure to follow, like, subscribe, all of that good jazz. We will catch you next time. We're out.